Hey folks, this is Dan with Open Source Motorsports, your source for open source materials applied to motorsport. I wanted to share with you all in getting a RaceBox Micro installed onto my S2000 over here, which I use to look at my telemetry data. And if you look at any of my YouTube videos, you can see the overlays I leverage there, which is all being sourced from the RaceBox Micro. So I'm going to show how I set up my install on my bench here, and then I'll go into how you wire it up into your car. Okay, we're going to go over some of the tools here. So in order to make some of these connectors that I use for the RaceBox Micro, I use this female pin connector kit. And I will also include links to these tools such that you can replicate the same success I had in wiring this all up. But here is a fuse tap that I use in my install on the S2000, and this comes from Lumison. I'll provide the link to this as well. Important to note what fuse types you have in your car. Nothing more frustrating than getting everything ready to go and you have the wrong fuse tap here. So make sure there are multiple types out there. I think there's 3 main types. The S2000 is a mini, so your miles may vary. So over here we have the RaceBox Micro, and just to give you an idea, this is about a little bit wider than the index of my thumb, very small, low profile, and you can see on the back here you have the lithium battery to provide state over time. So once you get this from RaceBox, you have to install that. It takes 2 seconds. This comes installed with a pigtail, so you can wire it out. This part was provided by RaceBox, and so everything you see on this side to this device here that I'll get to in a minute is by me. So I use this to kind of keep the wiring nice and clean. Yeah, there's a gauge difference here, thicker gauge over here, but again, you can mirror the same gauge wire over here. It's not going to hurt the system at the end of the day. This larger gauge or smaller gauge isn't going to impact the system at all. Okay. So let's get into this component, which is a UC-tronics. They call these buck boosters. I call this a power conditioner because it's taking the power from your 12-volt system that we have over here. I'll provide a link to that device as well. And it conditions it down from somewhere around 12 volts into about a 5.2. Now, this is where I can't be held responsible for any kind of damage to your car, but this is how I set up my install to make sure that I do not damage the RaceBox and that I do not damage my car, obviously. So we're going to come over here and I'm going to provide you some quick methods to check the voltage on this such that you can make sure you're installing this appropriately and you have taken all the guesswork out of the installation in your car or your application. All right, we got our voltmeter set to auto DC for volts, and we're going to go ahead and turn on my power bench. It's set to 12 volts. All right, now you can see the power is being supplied to the UC-tronics. You get a nice power LED indicator. But let's go into the actual validation of the power bench. We don't want to assume that this thing is putting out 12, even though it says it. Let's validate it right here. And so we go into the UC-tronics input powers, and we're touching the screws here, and you can see we're getting a nice healthy 11.9897 volts. So it is actually producing exactly what we want on the input side of the UC-tronics. So again, 12 volts here going through these taps into the input, we're getting right around 11.9998. Now, we have power going into the UC-tronics. I'll get into why I use this device in just a minute, but let's see what it actually does to the power coming in from my power bench over here. Touch these leads, come back, and you can see we have a nice 5.23 volts rounding down here, and that's exactly what you want. It's well within the operational range of the RaceBox Micro. A little bit before I go into the specifications of the RaceBox Micro, I use this UC-tronics to condition the power down from a 12 volt down to a much more moderate 5 volt. Why I do this is this device is not as expensive as that device. We know when you're cranking on a car, there's a lot of kind of disturbances in the variance of voltage. And I did not want there to be a situation where during cold cranking situations, turning the car on, that I could provide, call it dirty power to the RaceBox, popping this, and then I'm out the cost of the RaceBox. The other part that I really like about this UC Tronics is you see me hand holding it, it's not hot, right? And I have my laser infrared thermometer. This device emits very little heat. Now, for those electricians out there, you're probably saying, well, that makes sense. You're not dealing with very large amounts of current, and you would be correct. But just, to make sure that this device isn't going to provide kind of hot spots in the build, I threw this on there, and this does not get hot at all. So another key benefit of the UC Tronics setup is that you expose another USB port. This could be used for a GoPro, could be for your Racecom setup, could be used for a myriad of things. So let's get into the actual RaceBox Micro and what the blinking lights mean. And so when you power it on, I don't know if you saw that off to the side, but I'm going to reboot it again, hitting the power bench button here. Okay, so you can see everything dies. Powering it back on, and you'll see all 4 lights illuminate on the RaceBox Pro. So the lights mean the following. You have a blinking blue light, which is waiting for a Bluetooth connection, and everything else here indicates, hey, what's going on with this device. Notably, you can see that they actually have memory near full or solid purple light, which means, hey, your memory is full, you cannot record anymore. And then I'm going to get into this other part of this document. They give you part of the quick start guide, which gets into the key tech specs of this device. And so you can see it actually provides 25 hertz. That's right, not 10. I mean, it can do 10, but 25 is the max. So you can get 25 hertz, that's per second GPS readings. And as you can see here, we have the power input, which ranges from a 3.5 to 16 volt. Now, okay, you might be thinking, well, any car should not spike over 12. But again, I did not want there to be any situation where I could nuke my RaceBox and be out the cost of it, which is a very, compared to other things that you'll see in the prior video on why I selected the RaceBox. It's $90 to $100, and I think, hey, while some people will say, well, that's nothing, I don't want to go through, destroying these and maybe even losing the data that's on them, which is precious to us. So with that, I'll showcase how I installed this system in my car and even a 3D printed part that you can use. All right, and as promised, we're going to go into the vehicle here and showcase how I wired it up. So you can replicate the same success I have. And I'll throw a link to a sample video that you saw earlier, but also to showcase the capabilities that this RaceBox provides in the overlay. I plan on building a video to showcase how I do the video overlay and sync up the telemetry to my video, which is the third part of our series. The first part is why I selected the RaceBox Micro. Second is the install I just showed you. And we're going to finish up the interior here of the car. And the third will be how do you overlay your telemetry data into your video. So let's get into the guts of the car and how I installed this thing. All right. So I'm going to come up here and I'm actually going back to selfie mode. Sorry for the break. But you can see this is actually the UC Tronics box with the links. You can see that the 3D printed part, which I can make available to you. If you don't have a 3D printer, I'm more than happy to print you one and mail it to you if you need. But this keeps it nice and tidy such that the breadboard, the connectors aren't touching anything, and my roll cage, I just kind of zip tied it to make things easy. So this is the wiring area here, right? So the fuse box in the S2000 is right by your shin on your left leg. You can see right where that yellow connector is. I'm going to try and go in front of it. That's the Lumison fuse tap. So it's shoved into the accessory port. I have the OEM fuse in there. You can see I even used a crimper here on that connection with a red wire. The black goes to a ground, which on an S2000, for those that know, you got some nice solid grounds right by your hood latch there. And so that's what's tapped in for the black component of the UC Tronics. So again, ground, the tap, the red and black go into the input side of the UC Tronics. And then output goes into this part, which I'm going to flip the camera around. I wire it up through the dash and around. You can see the same black and red. And I have my windshield replaced. Come on, focus. There we go. And that's where the RaceBox is. If you look at my YouTube videos, it's pretty discreet. You don't really see it. And it provides kind of a really low profile ability to get that telemetry into your system. I just had my windshield replaced, so that's why the wire is kind of out. But the cool thing about the RaceBox as well here is, I'm going to power it back on, is let's say you forgot your phone. You can actually use the hardware button on your RaceBox to just press it and it'll record. But you can actually use the hardware button here, so you don't technically need your phone. You will need it at the end of the day to go get your session data. But again, like, this will hold enough of your telemetry for the whole HPDE weekend. Spread the word about this device. The price point is absolutely perfect for those folks that are the weekend warriors like myself, who are trying to get into racing with SCCA, NASA, etc. Get the telemetry. It helps you understand if you're going faster, slower, G's, how much G's you're pulling, your braking points. It's actually really helped me in my coaching and helping me overlay this data to see where I make mistakes and where I'm leaving time on the track. And with that, thank you so much. This is Dan with Open Source Motorsports, where speed is our creed. Have a great weekend.